and then you
okay.
proceed. It's a wonderful Friday morning here at American Corner Agbogba, and you are welcome once again to our STEM series. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are joining us from. My name is Florence Topher, and I am the Director of Mobile Web Ghana. I'll be your moderator for this session. And as I mentioned, I am moderating from the American Corner Agbogba. And American Corner Agbogba is part of the American Spaces we have around the world. American Spaces provides access to current and reliable information about the United States. And we are doing this through book collections, internet access, events, activities for everyone to join. And today I'm so excited about today's session. And we are discussing a very critical and pertinent topic. And we have in our midst, our facilitator for today, Engineer Ishmael Yasha, and he is a network engineer with National Information Technology Agency, and he has been working in the area of cybersecurity for a very long time with the National Information Technology Agency as part of the Ministry of Communications in Ghana. And today we'll be discussing this important topic, as I mentioned, understand online security and stay safe online. We know in Ghana, more than 6 million people are on the internet. And I mentioned both young and old are actively online. How are they going to know how to stay online, how to be safe online? And these are some of the issues that bother organizations and as well as households that we have in and around the world. So please stay tuned and join us for this discussion. Please, during the session, type all your comments or questions in the comment box below, and I will take it up and ask our facilitator to answer all your questions for you. Thank you, stay tuned with us. And now I hand over the session to Ishmael. Ishmael, please can you take us to what you have for us today, how we can understand the internet that we are using and how we can stay safe on the internet. So, over to you, Ishmael.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As Florence rightly introduced me, I'm Ismail Yushal, and I'm working with the National Information Technology Agency as a software engineer, and as well as a network engineer, a network security engineer. Yeah. Today the topic that we are going to discuss relates to how we can stay secure and safe online on the internet, as I mean. So I have prepared a small note that I think we can go through, and by the end of the day, I believe we will have a little bit of understanding of how to stay online by behaving correctly and correctly, as it rightly said. So yeah, so I think as you're all aware, computers have become a very important part of our lives in these modern times. Even post-COVID, it has shown how computers have become intertwined in our life, and it's making our life easier and as well as complicated. Hence, we are doing, as it stands right now, everything that we do in our lives is dependent on the internet through our banking, our businesses, government services, our entertainment, and even education as well. Even administration, local government administration, all has to do with the internet. So hence, this has brought to fore the need for privacy and security. Since everything has been taken from the things that are are secure in our real and day-to-day lives now have been transcribed to be on the internet. So the need for us to have good and better understanding of privacy and security has never been so important as ever before. So I would like us to understand what internet security means. Internet security is a branch of computer security, which has to do with the internet, your browser security, web security. When I say web security, I mean web applications that you consume services from. Assuming you are a user of Twitter, Facebook, these are web applications, and they demand a special kind of security to be able to stay online so that you'll be able to have access to those services. And network security has to do with ensuring that the right people have access to the right services at any given time. And this applies to other applications and operating system, especially the operating system that you are using. I know most people are using Windows operating system on their computers, and that's if you are using any of these kind of operating system, maybe Android, iOS, or any other of these operating systems, you need to. It concerns you what we are going to speak right now, and the main objective of internet security is to establish rules and measures to mitigate the effects of attacks and vulnerabilities that we commonly share online. As you are all aware, or maybe some of you are aware, the internet was not built with the intended usage that we are using for it today. It was built for a different purpose, and it has been co-opted for a different purpose as we are using it for it now. And security was not built into the protocols that underpins the internet. So there was the need, things were changing and people were changing their behavior and in line to keep things secure. So because of the inherent architecture weakness that we have, it has given rise to fraud, phishing, viruses, emails. What is the name of this? Spams and other vices that are very prevalent on the internet. There are methods that can be used to combat these threats, including encryption and other ground-up engineering mechanisms that should be taken account when building or using any online related service. Type of threats that we face. These are the kind of threats that we face online whenever we come online. For instance, malware. When we say malware, it's any applications that was written with the intention of causing harm to the user or the services that the user consumes. For instance, some malwares are specifically written to steal banking and login credentials. For instance, we have, in the past, we had this malware called Zeus. They used to refer to it as the king of banking malware or something. And they come in many forms. And they have, each of them have a specific goal that they want to achieve. And they are just there to cause commotion and disrupt users' safety online. We have computer worm. And computer worms are programs that are written to nibble and worm their way across the internet. Example of such worms was popularly referred to as WannaCry, which wreaked havoc on the internet in 2017. I believe most people will remember the tense moment people have to go through, and a lot of people fell victim to this particular malware. And we have spam. Spam is refers to an unwanted message email that people receive in their inbox, and they come in some cases. In some cases, they include embedded links that are meant to steal your credentials, steal your banking logins, or just rope in your machine onto a botnet that will continue to cause havoc online. Most people will fall victim to this bots. When they fall victim to these bots, their machine will end up sending these spams on behalf of those bot masters, and they tend to degrade the reputation of your ISP's internet addresses. Hence, you will get blacklisted, and sometimes when you try to access certain services, you would not be able to receive those to access those services. For instance, if you happen to have a lot of these kind of bots on your network, you end up getting blacklisted by these major ISPs, including but not limited to Google and Meta and other service providers, from accessing their services. And when they do that, because our lives are now dependent on the services that they provide, they become a major inconvenience. Hence the need for us to be vigilant on the links and attachments that we download online. And I think this is an example, this is a screenshot of the WannaCry that we were talking about in the previous slide. It caused havoc online and created a lot of people's files and systems. And thankfully, we had somebody who was able to find out that it had a kill switch in there, that he was able to activate the kill switch, and it stopped the malware from continuing to cause havoc online. So some of the threats that we faced online has to do with in relation to the previous one, the spamming, is phishing. Phishing is a scam email that people send to users with the aim of attracting them to click on a specific link so that they will be able to have their machine infected or get sensitive information from the particular user. They can pose as your bank or a web services that you most likely would have been signed on to lure you into clicking links in order for you to verify details like account information or passwords. I think in a few slides down the line, I will be able to show you a sample of such emails that people received and they have shared with me, and I would with their permission, I'm trying to share with the public so that the public will be aware and they will be able to take the necessary steps to protect themselves from such phishing attacks. The next one is the botnet that I previously intimated about. A botnet is a collection of malicious private computers that have been chained together and been headed by a bot master. And that malicious software enables the administrator to have absolute control over your machine and can use your machine to do myriad type of tasks, including but not limited to botnet, bulk mail sending, which we commonly refer to as spamming. Or they can use your machine to be attacking systems online, which can get your IP blacklisted by the major ISP providers. In order, when they do that, it affects the reputation of your network, and it affects the ability of your users to reach certain services online. So these are the examples of the phishing email. On your left is an example of the phishing email that somebody received. Cloud Linux is a platform that we use to host websites. So these people will be able to couch the email to fit what Cloud Linux does. So you would receive a mail that looks like it's from Cloud Linux, and they would send you an email with an attachment. So when you download the attachment, which is a PDF, and PDF have features that can embed certain scripts to be executed automatically when you click on when you open the PDF on your machine. So had the user of this who received this particular email used this downloaded attached attachment on his system, the person might have been infected with a malware, or something worse could have happened, so that they will be able to have access to their machine remotely, and they'll be using that machine for any other task that they wish. And on the right side, we have a screenshot of somebody's on Facebook. I have been observing that people get tagged in many posts that has suggestive pornographic, excuse my language, pornographic content. So if the user happens to be curious and wants to see that particular pornographic material, you will be enticed to click on the provided link that you were tagged in. If you click on the link, you would be directed to a login page that looks similar to Facebook login screen. Users that are in a hurry to log in and see whatever the other login screen would provide their login screen, would provide their login credentials. And in the end, you will not get what you want, but the person, the threat actor, or the person who is behind that particular operation would have gotten your login screen. And this is the login screen, the history of the login screen of the said user, and what the person who was responsible for that operation was logging in on the account from a computer in Ottawa, Canada. And by so doing, you've handed over your account for somebody to change your password, change your details, and any other thing that they wish to do to your account. And in the end, you will suffer reputational damage to you will suffer reputational damage to you suffer damages to your reputation. Because whenever you tag your friends in these kind of things, it shows a sinister side to your behavior, your ability or willingness to watch nefarious materials or other things on your Facebook profile. I would also like to draw the attention of users to technology news trends, because it has a direct correlation to whatever users face during account takeovers, and the type of phishing email that users receive. When these corporations, because these corporations collect data about us to be able to provide us with accounts to use on their systems. So when they do that and it gets compromised, they are legitimate data about the user that can be used against the user in attacks. And people have been found to be selling these kind of records that they have acquired from these major service providers. For instance, recently in July, Twitter suffered a breach where 5.4 million accounts of users were stolen, which include phone numbers, emails, and other details, which were being sold on online hacking forums for $30 million, as much as $30 million. And in May, a ransomware gang called Conti Ransomware, which is based in Russia, or it is believed to be based in Russia, forced the government of Costa Rica to shut down because they have compromised about 620 gig of data about the government of Costa Rica, and they were demanding a ransom of $20 million to release back their data. And in April, a hacking group called Lapsus outwitted these tech giants by impersonating law enforcement agencies and acquired a trove of user data, which they can use against the users in their nefarious operations. And in March, Microsoft posted Microsoft was breached, and a couple of screenshots of their compromised product were posted online. And Uber suffered an attack also, and the person who was responsible announced his presence on their Slack. A Slack system is kind of like a ticketing system that they use to manage their internal operations, which forced Uber to shut down its internal messaging system and engineering system. What these things tells us about as users is we have to pay attention to whatever is happening in the technology space so that users can be better informed as to what steps they can take to better safeguard their interests and privacy online. Some of the tactics and methods or tools that you can use to stay safe online, including browser selection. Browsers like Firefox, Google Chrome, and others, but Firefox and Google Chrome are the major ones that we are using, and the major ones that are being used by people, including Edge, Microsoft Edge, which comes with Microsoft operating system. They have their own security mechanisms and measures that they put in place, but some have serious flaws. For instance, Internet Explorer, I for one think Internet Explorer should not be used by anyone because Microsoft, in its own wisdom, has retired Internet Explorer because it contains a lot of vulnerabilities that puts your security in jeopardy. So to be able to use the internet securely, in my personal opinion, I'm not trying to take a dig on any other corporate. I think users are better off to use Edge, Firefox, or Google Chrome. These browsers have regular updates and they are able to patch any emerging vulnerabilities that they discover on their system, in their browser, so that users can stay secure online. The next step that users can take is a multi-factor authentication that can be enabled on your online account and servers or systems that you have exposed online. A multi-factor authentication method is a method used for controlling access by requiring several pieces of evidence to be provided for authentication. For instance, when you have an account with Google Mail or Facebook, you provide them with a password. So the password can get leaked, but the multi-factor authentication that they apply mostly is something that you have that they know about, that you can provide. For instance, they will ask you to provide a random number that they will show on screen that is delivered to you securely. When you are able to provide that number, maybe on your mobile phone or a text message that you will receive, or if you are using a hardware key-based multi-factor authentication device, you'll be provided with a key. After you've provided your password, you provide a key, then you'll be allowed to log in because you've been able to authenticate who you are, because you have been able to provide a password and the other authentication method that you specified previously. And email security. Email appears to be the weakest link in the security model that allow the introduction of people to send, like, it's just a public address that people can send emails to. So people can just send anything and anything to you, everything and anything to you, provided they know your email address and is a valid email address. So people need to develop the habit of having for email security. I remember, I think some time ago, I saw on I think on Asampa radio, a businessman came online and some people were able to impersonate him, and they were talking to him as they were talking to him as if they were his suppliers, and he was goaded into sending them a huge sum of money. But he was able to, because he had a very good working relation with his bankers, they were able to cancel the transaction before the scammers or anybody who was talking to him could make way with the cash that he sent. So assuming that he was using a signed email, assuming that he was signing his email addresses with a cryptographic key with his supplier, I believe it would have been very hard for somebody who is not the client, or who is not the client, or who is not the supplier that he's dealing with, to be able to impersonate the other side. Because if you don't have the public key of the person that you are dealing with, definitely you will not be able to read the email, or you will not be able to even copy and mimic the particular email address, because they are using very strong mathematical cryptographic schemes that would be hard, that is beyond the that defeating such mechanism is beyond the capabilities of any low-level scammer online. So users can have users can learn how to implement signing secure email addresses, like signing secure email messages that they can send, exchange between themselves. Or if you want to go a step further, you should be able to encrypt your email addresses. You will use a symmetric, I think it's a symmetric key authentication, where you have two keys. One is a private key that you keep, and a public key that you share with everybody. So when you send an email with that particular, when you encrypt an email with your private key, the sender that you intended to receive the email can use your public key to decrypt the email address, and vice versa. If the person is using such mechanisms as well, you should be able to have a secure mode of communication that nobody should be able to impersonate your email communication. And the next one is, we are going to talk about firewalls. I've realized that most people are fond of disabling the Windows firewalls that comes with their systems. They feel like it's in the way of how their system behave. They don't want to have their user experience impeded. Yes, security comes at a cost. For you to be able to open ports on your machine, you should be able to find somebody who can take you through steps that you can securely make available services that are running on your systems available to people across the network or across the internet. People have been seen to be disabling their firewalls on the open internet, and that is not a very good practice. You are opening yourself to every form of attack from the internet, and people will take advantage of such systems whenever they come online. Because previously we spoke about botnets. These botnets have been programmed to scour the internet and find major systems that are vulnerable that can be taken advantage of. And there are other services online that crawl the internet for these kind of vulnerable systems, including Shodan. Shodan is kind of like a Google services for network admins and network security professionals, where they can find systems on their network that are vulnerable to many kind of things. So you opening your machine up on the internet thinking that you are safe, that it does not sit very well with a very right-thinking person who wants to secure his assets online. So enabling and managing a firewall on your device online is very important, because it impedes people from performing acts that are not in your interest against your machine or services online. One more thing too is the use of strong passwords. People have been found to be using and reusing passwords. As I said earlier, whenever these major corporations get breached, these passwords sometimes are unencrypted, and they can be used against you by people who have access to those databases that have been leaked. So it is very important that users change their password regularly. For instance, it is a best practice approach for you to change your password every 30 days of every 30 days you should be able to change your password, so that even if you happen to be part of these breaches, by the time that somebody might be able to get to you, you've already changed your password to something that is much stronger, that they will not be able to readily compromise your account. People have also been found to be using their date of birth in their password, or just adding a key to their password just to make it, just to be able to bypass the password policies that administrators have on their systems. For instance, if I was born in 1990, I might maybe use a very familiar name that I have, or something that is very familiar with me, or anybody that knows me. It will be easy for an attacker who can observe you to know that this person is using his date of birth in his password, and they can find something that is very peculiar to you, that they can match with that password, and they'll be able to generate a list of passwords that they can use against your password. And I bet you will be found wanting. So it is very important for users to use random password generators, pseudo random password generators, because it will not be able to generate a very random password for you. It will just be able to mimic a random password that is good enough. And at least your password should be at least 10 characters long, and it should be alphanumeric, which includes special characters, to make it a little bit harder for these password brute force tools to have a very hard time when they want to brute force your email account. And one more thing, this is a very key important step in ensuring that you stay secure online. Please be sure to check and ensure that you double check links that you receive in your emails, and links that you receive from familiar people saying they are promising you maybe a job, or they are promising you maybe a free meal at KFC. I've seen these kind of mails going around on WhatsApp. They will tell you that KFC is sharing free meal. If you click on this account, you fill this form and provide your username and password into a particular service. You will have access to a particular services, free services that you covet. For instance, people around this part of the world, people enjoy using KFC. So when somebody sends you a link saying that they want you to fill this form, you will have free meal at KFC. Some people I've seen people doing it, and they end up not having what they wanted, and which is not very good practice for you to just be clicking random links that you receive from people. That is an easy way for you to get infected, or to just submit your username and password to malicious users. And also, if you are using a computer system, maybe an Android system, an iOS system, a Windows machine, Linux, or any other operating system for that matter, please pay attention to your solutions provider. Whenever they provide an update for their services, you should make it a point to find time and update your operating system, including the applications that are running on your system, on your device. Because whenever there is an update, it means that there has been most definitely there has been a security vulnerability that has been discovered, or maybe a user improvement, something that is beside the point, because it's just trying to improve your user experience. But please be sure to follow the information regarding the security updates. If it's a security update, please make it a point to update to the most recent security update associated with your device or your operating system, because these are the ways and means that people, or these malwares and viruses, also use to get onto their system. They are one of the easier vectors that people can get access to your computers across the internet, because you are vulnerable to these vulnerabilities. A very key vulnerability that people suffered, that they didn't take advantage of to update their system and fell victim to these things, was Eternal Blue, which the ransomware that I was talking about earlier, called WannaCry, took advantage of. That it was able to worm its way across the internet and infect millions of computers across the internet and encrypt their people's files. So I think this brings us to the end of the slide. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ishmael. And I have a lot of questions when it comes to internet security and online safety. You know, you've said so many things, and I'm wondering, where do our young ones fit, the youth especially? Is it possible to really stay safe online? What you mentioned, use strong passwords, and beware of scam. The links are flying over. Where do the young ones that are getting access to mobile phone devices and computer devices, where do they fit? There is no education on cybersecurity. How can they stay safe as well?
As you rightly said, online child safety is very important, because they are very curious and they have access to the devices. Hence, the need for parental control on their devices. I think if they are using Google has this parental control that you can link their the account that is associated with their device to your account. So you should be able to supervise whatever they are doing on their devices. For instance, you should be able to block them from visiting certain sites, I believe. From your device, you should be able to control whatever application they install on the devices as well. So, and there are other steps that can be taken to ensure that as a parent, you need to be very intrusive to be able to secure the interest of your child online.
Okay, as a parent, so now the responsibility has shifted from the child to the parent. And so yes, you've heard it from Ishmael, parents are supposed to be more vigilant and be watchful of the various sites that children visit. And you also...
And these service providers have provided several tools at the disposal of the parents to be able to take advantage of it. Example, as I said earlier, Google has this parental control that you can enable on your child's device, so that you should be able to manage the device remotely without actually taking the device from the child.
Okay. And also a follow-up question on that. You mentioned that you can be blacklisted after a while if you click on certain sites and you get malware downloaded onto your machine. How do you know you've been blacklisted? And how do you actually...
That's on the server, that's on the ISP side, but not the user side. The ISPs have means and mechanism, but you can also find whether your IP has your public IP has been blacklisted. When you go to, I think I'm coming. Let me just share a screen.
Okay.
I'm coming. I'll come back. Let me. I'll get back to you right now.
Okay. So whilst Ishmael is getting us answers to our questions, please post your questions in the chat box. Let's have any question you have on security. Have you ever experienced any breach? Have you ever clicked on any malicious link before? While on the internet, what did you do? What are your experiences? Please share it with us. And it's an opportunity for all of us to learn as well.
Yes, so I think I'm ready to share my screen again.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so this is IP Abuse DB. It's an online tool that you can use to check if your ISP has been blacklisted. The IP that has been assigned to you has been blacklisted for various nefarious activities. You should be able to see if, because I'm using MTN, it has already populated my IP address with that, so I should be able to see. You see, it has not been reported by any other person for any nefarious activity because people are. But these are other IP addresses that people have reported that for doing something. For instance, let's click on this Chinese IP address. I don't know if it's very legally. I don't know if but anyway, it's a public database that people can see. So you can see people have reported that it is brute forcing SSH from somebody in UK. It was trying to make an unwanted attempt at SSH. Like this particular IP is been known to be doing something relating to SSH brute force online, which means that somebody there has been infected with a malware and is doing all these things online, which is not in the interest of the users. And things like this will get blacklisted by the ISPs, and you would have problems accessing certain services online if you are using this particular IP. So the need for the user to be very vigilant on their device so that their device will not be used unwittingly to be attacking somebody online, that you will get your ISP reported for this kind of behavior.
Okay, so if I discover, like, also let me talk about web portals, and can web portals be blacklisted? And
Yes.
how does that affect the organization that has been blacklisted? And how can you make sure that you are now cleared?
Yes, you can. You would take steps. When you find, assuming you are hosting your web services on a particular IP address and it gets blacklisted, you can check and see the root cause of why it is being blacklisted. When you find the root cause, you deal with it. When you deal with it, then you submit a request to these online platforms that are doing these things, and they will de-blacklist it, and you should be good to go in a couple of days or weeks. That is if you are hosting a web platform. But if you are an ISP, there are so many steps that you need to take to ensure that you've cleared your network or your devices, so that users can have better experience.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. And at some point in your presentation, you mentioned that passwords should be at least 10. What happens if it is not 10? What happens if it's not alphanumeric, but it is long enough, like I am something, or you have like about 20 characters, but it's not alphanumeric? Or you have a short character, you have short characters, but it is not up to 10.
When you increase the numbers, it increases the attempts that the person has to make to be able to succeed. When you look at your keyboard, you have the AB, like the alphabet characters, we have 24 characters, and they are both 24 plus additional 24, that's uppercase and lowercase. And we have other characters on your keyboard, some of them that you can use. So in all, you have at least 80 something characters that you can choose from. That is a very huge combination when you permit, I don't know the right word to use. When you perm the combination, and you see the number of characters that you have, when you convert it into bits, you will see the number of bits that the person has to go through to be able to succeed in brute forcing your password. So assuming you are using ASDFGH, and I know it's small characters, which means that I have a smaller space to be able to brute force your password. Okay. I have narrowed my search to a specific area, which I assure you, it can be done with a very powerful machine. It can be done in less than 1 hour. Yes. So the more numbers that you introduce, the more complex characters that you introduce into your password, and the more characters they are, the wider it widens the space, and the more abortive, the more you exact cost from the attacker, so that the person will be forced to abandon their attempt. So I will suggest you use, I think I will share my I'll share my screen again to show you maybe a service that you can use.
Okay, good. I like this practical session because we need to know the tools to use to be safe online.
All these things can come with a, you see, this tool is made freely available by Avast. So this is an example of a very strong password, in my opinion, because it's 15 characters and it's kind of some way you can include special characters. I can increase the complexity if I want. It's more than 50 characters long, and I don't know, most services will not allow you to use 50 character password, but it's worth a shot. You can just, but when you are doing it, you should put your, I don't know how to put it, you should make it as practical as possible. Balance your security and your human capability to remember the password as well, because your password should be strong enough not to be written down, that you can remember. So assuming you are trying to remember this particular password, it will be a very great challenge. Because if I'm using a password like this, I'll be forced to copy it to write it down. And it runs into the risk of somebody seeing it and copying it. Because people have been hacked for doing an online session. I think it's a public in the US, I think, or somewhere. It's a public service that they were providing, and they posted their password on the screen on a post-it note on the screen of the laptop. And the scientist or somebody who was being interviewed, and they saw the screen, somebody saw the screen, and he was able to log onto their machine, which was very embarrassing.
So still on the password, is it good to, and I mean, I had a case recently where someone was called and said, give me your password, it's your 1990 something, your date of birth and something. Is it good to use those things for your password? Or your telephone number or something? Is it good?
I missed the last part of the question.
Like recently, I had a case where someone was saying that he had a call from someone. The person was demanding his password, and the person was asking, "Give me, is your password 1990 something? Can you? What is it? You know." So I'm sure that the person was doing social engineering, thinking that people use either their dates of birth or other things or something to ask their password. Is it right to do? Like the example you showed us has got nothing, it's combinations of characters.
Yes. Yeah. One of the easiest way to steal somebody's password is to ask for the ask the person for the password, and it has proven to be very successful. I can just ask you for a password and you will give it to me. Because I asked you, people, I don't know how it works. I've never been able to figure out how somebody would fall for that. You ask and the person will give the password. So most people fall for it. They feel like it's nothing. Maybe I feel like they feel like it's nothing, that it's nothing. I can share my password. Yeah, the easiest way to ask for somebody to get somebody's password is to ask for the password. That includes, maybe I will send you a login screen that looks similar to a service that you are used to using. That includes that. I'm asking you for your password nicely because I've given you a very convenient login screen that looks at something that you are very familiar with. Then you can log in. When you log in, I have the password. I wish the demo that I was trying to do, I wish I was able to do it, but the system, I couldn't. The time frame was very small, so I couldn't.
Okay, we have 2 more questions. How can you identify a key logger implanted on your computer?
Yeah,
I think Joseph Ansah is asking that question.
Yes, I think a keylogger mostly is most antiviruses would recognize a keylogger as a malware. So that is where I said you should be able to always update your system, the applications on your machine. You should not be installing these softwares that you download online, because there is no free lunch. For you to be able to use somebody's hard-earned time and effort to build a system, a software that they are selling, then somebody will say, "I've been able to crack it," and you can go ahead and use it for free. No, I don't think it's not very sound. So I think, first of all, you should take. I believe in defensive approach to things. You should not put yourself in the position to have even the keylogger in the first place, because they are hard to detect sometimes. They are very hard to detect. But one of the steps that you take is ensure that you're not installing applications that you don't trust, that from questionable sources on your machine. And also, you should have an up-to-date antivirus. Microsoft now is kind enough to provide us with an antivirus prepackaged with our operating system when it comes. So all you have to do is ensure that you are up to date and you perform regular scan on your system to ensure that you don't find anything that you don't want to have on your machine that you can, so that you should be able to deal with it appropriately.
Yes, we should always update, and I think the update is running through the section. Update your applications, you install your phone, update your applications, update your system, your OS system as well. And I have a question from Isaac, and he is asking, is it advisable to use password storage services like Bitwarden and the like? Is it advisable to use those services?
When it comes to password, I think you should take responsibility for your passwords. You should not be using online services for password storage, because when they get breached, you as well will get breached because you'll be exposed. As I was saying earlier, Twitter, I have entrusted Twitter and those other services with my username and passwords, and it has been leaked. So me using Bitwarden or something like that, when it gets breached, equally I will get my passwords leaked. Even when you have storing passwords in your browser, when somebody infects your machine with a malware, the person is able to easily copy those passwords and siphon them off. There are instances that I've seen people having their sensitive credentials leaked online, and people assuming maybe you are managing something that is very sensitive and somebody steals your credentials. You can imagine the reputational damage and the financial damage that will come associated with it. Assuming I'm working for a bank, then some of their internal services password gets stolen from my browser. You see the kind of damage that it will cause. I am not a fan of storing passwords in your browser, let alone outsourcing that password management to a cloud provider online. When they get breached, it puts you, from risk management perspective, it puts you in a very bad situation.
Okay, so that is it about password breach and all those things. And there's a question. If I notice my device has been compromised, what do I do? What steps do I take? Is it possible to get my machine back to normal, or I need completely new mobile phone or new computer?
Depending on the kind of malware that you are infected with, and I believe most people are not worthy targets for high-profile nation-state actors to compromise their devices. So you should be fine by just resetting your device.
Okay, so resetting it to factory mode.
Yes.
Okay, so that clears the entire system and it is back to normal, and you can you can trust that you are safe.
Malwares, some malwares too have been seen to be infecting the BIOS of your machine. Like, I mean, when you load your machine, the first program that runs before it loads your operating system, they tend to be infecting that part of your computer. And but those ones, they are one-offs, but it's mostly you should be fine. If you just reset your machine, you should be fine.
Okay, and so you mentioned about antivirus and all those things. Like I think that someone mentioned that if, especially on the mobile phone, if you download antivirus like Avast, for instance, it's still not enough until you configure it, and then it can act in the way that you want it to act or protect you. How true is that?
And please, can you repeat? Your voice was breaking.
So if you download, if you download an antivirus onto your machine, onto your device, especially the mobile device, because that is the tool we now use to access the internet. If you don't configure it, it will not function well.
Yes, most applications that you install, you need to configure it to your preference. So you should look at it, follow their vendor supplied manual to take into account your user needs, your requirements, so that you should be able to configure it to fit your needs. So that if you misalign your your requirements and the tool that you are trying to use to safeguard your requirement, your needs online, it will be misaligned, and it will not be the protection that it offers will not be taken advantage of optimally. So you need to understand your requirements, and you need to understand the tools that you need to apply to fix the vulnerabilities that you're having. Assuming I'm having a house, I'm having a broken window, and I have a burglar-proof door. I have a back door that somebody can use the door to enter my room. Although I'm having a steel door, but somebody can enter the room because I haven't applied the necessary controls to prevent anybody from using that particular back door I have. That is the analogy that I'm trying to give the user. So you need to understand the requirements that you have and the tools that you need to use to protect, so that you can align both, so that you can take a better advantage of the protection, the mechanisms for protection provides.
We should understand our needs and understand what the vendors are providing.
In short, what I'm saying is follow the manual the vendor is providing. If you, as an antivirus that you are trying to use, follow the vendor's manual to see how best the solution that they are providing can fit whatever situation that you are facing, so that you can apply it very well and ensure that it's working. When you ensure that it's working, then you can observe and see how best it is protecting you.
Beautiful, and I think that is a good concluding remarks from Ishmael. And as he mentioned, don't just download applications. You should read the manual from the person or the organization developing the application. If it's antivirus, make sure that you really follow the steps from the developers or from the team that is developing the application. And this brings us to the end of a very nice session we were having. And I believe that we would need to have another session, more practical session, that will be taken through various steps that we need to go through to be able to ensure that we are safe online. But before I end this program, I want to thank you for staying online. I want you to know about an amazing online resource that you will find helpful, and this is the eLibrary USA. And as you've heard on our program, the eLibrary USA is a state-of-the-art digital library with 9 premium electronic databases that include digital newspapers, magazines, journals, videos, and dissertations. Usually this resource is only available in person, but now you can find it in the various American spaces we have. With the global pandemic, just sign up for it online using the link that you can find in the comment section below. And as I mentioned, this program was brought to you by the U.S. Embassy Ghana, American Corner Gbagba, in partnership with Mobile Web Ghana. And that concludes our program for today. Please follow us on YouTube at U.S. Embassy Ghana for more amazing virtual programs. Thank you all for joining us today, and thanks to our facilitator for educating us and taking us through how we can stay safe online. Please observe all the safety protocols. Wash your hand under running water for 20 seconds. Still, you should do that, and practice social distancing if it's possible. So we meet next week sometime.